Good evening and welcome to the Taft City Council Successor Agency regular joint meeting for Tuesday, April 16th, 2013. Tonight, as always, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilman Randy Miller, and an invocation given by Rodney Wyckoff of the Church of the Nazarene.
Will you join me as we salute our nation's flag? Hand it with your heart and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather this evening. I pray that you would be with each council member, that you would fill them with your blessing. Pray that you'd give them wisdom and direction. Lord, as we reflect on the reality of business is for each citizen of this community, for the betterment of each person. And we thank you for that. We thank you for our city. We thank you for the relationships that we have. As we think about the tragedy in Boston, Father, our prayers are with those folks. We pray for the injured. We pray for the families. And again, it's because of relationships with people that those things are so significant. Help us to always value one another. And we thank you for your blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Miller and Mr. Wyckoff. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Linder?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cryer?
Here.
Councilmember Miller?
Here.
Councilmember North?
Oh, I'm here too.
I'm here.
And Councilmember Waldron?
I'm here too.
Thank you. We have item number one was just a placeholder. We have no special recognitions tonight. So moving on to item number two, citizens' request for public comments. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the City Council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issues not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. And the first person wishing to speak tonight is Mr. Ray Hatch. And the topic is another place and time. Welcome, Mr. Hatch. I might add former Mayor Hatch.
Ray Hatch, 209 East, Warren. Mr. Mayor, Councilman, thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. I do want to speak about something called Another Place and Time. This is it here. Another Place and Time. This is a book that just got published, and it's about the Carrizo Plains, which is how it's listed here. And before I talk about the book, I want to just again bring up why I'm interested in the Carrizo Plains as I know it, and why I think it's important to the city of Taft. When I was sitting, Mayor Linder, in your spot, I got invited by a fellow that most of us know, Kurt Bretschneider, to visit a monument advisor committee headed by BLM, and this is now 5 or 6, maybe 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. It's been a while. Anyway, that's where Taft first got involved in the gateway aspects with Carrizo Plains. And the chamber is the actual organization in Taft that is the gateway to the Carrizo Plains, and the chamber has a formal agreement with BLM and another group called the Friends of Carrizo Plains. And I bring that up because this is a book about the Carrizo Plains, and what a lot of people don't recognize is that the Carrizo Plains involves lots of people in Taft. I recall Mayor Linder mentioned at a meeting several years ago when we were talking about Painted Rock and other things that as a youngster he climbed all over Painted Rock. And I think at that same time I mentioned that my wife had pictures of Painted Rock, one part of Painted Rock, with her and our two grandkids, and we have exactly the same picture of her father when he was the age of the grandkids then at Painted Rock in the very same spot. So there's a lot of history tying these together. And I wanted to bring a little of that history up and then make a little presentation. Some of the people that I think most of us know that are involved in the Carrizo or were involved in the Carrizo, in many cases lived up there. And this is pretty much alphabetical order. Kathleen Budke, she grew up on the Carrizo. Rick Hudson grew up on the Carrizo. They're both living right here in Taft now. John and Betty Miller. John and Betty grew up in Maricopa, but where did John have his first job? Carrizo Plains.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting story in here about that. John, as a young man, was working on the Washburn Ranch, which was one of the major ranches on the Carrizo. And there, he relayed that as a young man, his problem was he couldn't get enough to eat for breakfast. Now, they only had bacon, ham, eggs, potatoes, toast, biscuits, probably gravy, but he said come 10 o'clock he was as hungry as could be. And I think their solution was they put a pot of beans out there on the table and he added beans to that, and that kept him going. Bill Finster, worked and grew up partly on the Carrizo. Karen Linder, I think a sister-in-law, and her maiden name I think was Traver, of the Traver Ranch. And that's maybe how you got up there and spent a lot of time up there.
Yep.
Harry McDermott of Maricopa. Joyce Pruitt of Maricopa. Alberta Stubblefield, Maricopa. And last but not least by any means, and this covered quite a number of people, the Twisselmans. Specifically, in part of the book, Daryl and Nola were mentioned, but the other Twisselmans are very involved with Carrizo. So, Mayor, what I wanted to do, since you have direct ties up there, so I wanted you to have a copy of this.
Well, thank you.
So my presentation tonight is a presentation to you of this book by Craig Deutsche. And I might mention this is going to be for sale, I think early next week at the Chamber of Commerce. So if you want a copy.
Who wrote it, Ray?
A fellow named Craig Deutsche.
Okay.
Craig lives in L.A. He comes up and volunteers on the Carrizo. In fact, he's coming up this weekend. Paul, thank you very much. Enjoy it. I will. And I have time to read it. I think you'll have time.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
I might add that Ray does a lot of work for the Carrizo.
Yes.
And we really appreciate your efforts, Ray, and thank you.
Kathy Orrin with the Chamber. We missed you the last meeting, I believe.
Well, how nice
Yes.
of you. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Your husband was here, but he wouldn't speak for you.
Well, he's a smart man, that husband of mine. Thank you for this chance to talk to you. I want to remind you that you are all invited, as are the folks at home, invited to the State of the City luncheon coming up Thursday, April 25th at noon at OT Cookhouse. The cost is $15. Speakers will include our Mayor Linder, our City Manager Craig Jones. We've asked Don Koenig from the West Kern Recreation Parks District, Chuck Hagstrom from our West Side Healthcare District, Dr. Dina Maloney from Taft College to be speakers also. And we've invited Terry McNally, CEO of the Kern Courts, to come, and he has consented to do so, which I appreciate. We're naturally very concerned that our courts will be closed 4 days a week. We will be down to 1 day a week starting in September, and we're, at this point at least, that looks like the plan, and we're very concerned about that. We would like as many of you that are able to do so, to join us. We'd appreciate reservations a couple days ahead of time so we know how many people to plan for. The cost, as I said, is $15 per person. Coming up Wednesday, May 1st, and I know it's a little early to be talking, but I won't see you much before that. I know that there will be other chances to invite folks, but I wanted to let folks know that May 1st is a Wednesday, so we will be having a sit and sip as we do every Wednesday. It will begin at 9 o'clock, but this sit and sip will be at the Westside Waste Management offices on East Cedar, and we will be celebrating the 30th birthday of Westside Waste Management here on the West Side, and we're very pleased to be able to do that for Bob Hampton's company. He will be having an open house after Sit and Sip that will last until noon. But we're very proud that they are as generous as they are. I don't know how many of you know that the building that the chamber resides in is owned by Mr. Hampton, and we get to stay there rent-free, insurance-free, carefree. He really takes good care of us, and we so appreciate that at the chamber. So I wanted you to be aware that that was happening. And I also want to let you know that I was very appreciative of the chance to go to the CalEd conference in Long Beach. That's the California Local Economic Development Conference. Our PG&E folks gave me a scholarship.
Great.
I haven't had a scholarship in many years. And it probably was about the same size as the scholarship I got many years ago, but I got a lot longer stretch out of the one before.
You must have had good grades then, huh?
I did have good grades. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Randy was the envy of all the boys in high school because he had the hottest car, but I did have good grades. But we went to Long Beach, and I went with Craig and with Deborah Elliott, and it was excellent for me. I have a huge learning curve when it comes to economic development, and I went to two very good breakout sessions that were designed to help folks rethink health and health care, and to rethink workforce readiness. Two things that I think we are in an excellent position here in Taft to do. Both of them, at least the health care issue, is something that we have to rethink whether we want to or not, and I think all Americans are going to have to come Obamacare full force. We're going to have to actually consider new options for how we take care of ourselves. And workforce readiness is really at the forefront because although we have huge unemployment, we also have a huge amount of jobs that go unfilled because we don't have a workforce that's prepared to do the jobs that we need. We are in an excellent position here in Taft. In fact, we have a new president of Taft College who is keenly aware of this issue and is working very closely with higher education institutions and also with businesses to help us bridge that gap. So it was a very good conference. I was very happy to be able to go. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it as always. Moving on to council statements, non-action. I think I'm going to go to Mr. Miller first tonight.
Well, thank you. As most everybody knows, we had the terrible tragedy in Boston at the Boston Marathon. And I don't want to talk too much about it, but, you know, we have 300 million people in our country, and not all of them are good people. And somebody did this that lives here. And I believe we've, again, lost our innocence as a country, and we are going to be greatly inconvenienced because of this, because security is already being tightened everywhere. We're all going to be judged guilty as we get on an airplane, as we enter buildings, and as we go to events until we are cleared by that security. So tragically, 3 people lost their lives and many people were injured. But us as a whole nation are going to be injured by this, and it's going to cost us quite a bit economically and I don't know what all I'm trying to say here, but it's just a terrible thing. And I send my sympathies. I think that everybody will do the same, but our sympathy, prayers, and condolences to those that were injured and those that died in that incident. And hopefully it's not going to happen again, and we're going to be on top of it. So other than that, I have no other items to speak of. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Waldrop?
I too send out my sympathies and hope they catch them and get to the bottom of it and follow through on going a little bit deeper. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Cryer?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite everybody next Thursday, this coming Thursday at the Fort. We're having a fundraiser for the college, and the Fort's having a fundraiser for the Teal Foundation for transition into independent living. There'll be a wine tasting, and there'll be a lot of great fun. In fact, I'm going to be there myself. I'm going to have a little booth there handing out wine. I encourage everybody to come there and participate to raise money for a good organization. The Alpha House is going to have a barbecue on April 20th. This starts at 5 p.m. for dinner, and afterwards at 6 o'clock they're having an auction on the same day. So there's lots going on Saturday. That's going to be in the evening, but in the meantime, in the morning, the Rotary Club's going to have a health fair on Saturday morning until about from, I believe, 8 till 9 to 3.
Who's the president of that club?
Anyway, it'll be there in the morning. Thank you. And it's a great opportunity for people to go there, get health screenings. There'll be a lot of doctors. There'll be 12 doctors there. They're going to do everything. I don't want to mention a lot of names because it's a lot I can't pronounce. But it's a great opportunity for people to go there to have health checks, and also for the kids to go there to participate in the bicycle rodeo. And I'll be getting away helmets there for all the kids that participate. There's a lot of opportunities there. And I too, like I said, my condolences to the innocents that got involved in the tragic incident in Boston. I've been there in that location before in the past. It's a beautiful area, and it's amazing what a group can do, destroy a confidence, to make it more harder for us to live in our society, and new rules and regulations I'm sure to be coming about. I wouldn't be surprised to have probably a ban on what do we call this?
Pressure cookers.
Pressure cookers now, yeah. There's a rumor that Boxer's going to introduce it in Assembly next week, so don't be surprised. But there's so many different things coming up because of that incident, and it's too bad we can't get away from the political correctness of things and get to the hard core and solve our problems instead of Mickey Mouse around all these issues and stuff, and so that people continue doing it because they know they don't get themselves in trouble. They can do it. Worst they can get is life in prison or a good book or stuff like that, and it's just ridiculous. So we just need to get more stronger and set some examples, whoever done that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Knorr?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everybody in the United States, I gotta believe, thought back to 9/11 when we heard about the bombings in Boston, indiscriminate killings of innocent human beings, men, women, children. This isn't casualties of war where adversaries are identified in a battlefield over some political struggle. These are just everyday people. They didn't do anything to deserve this any more than the victims of 9/11 or any other tragedy. Another tragedy that occurred since our last council meeting was the indiscriminate stabbings of a deranged individual in a community college in the state of Texas. The one thing that we need to understand and keep in mind is as long as there are human beings on the face of the earth, there will be unexplained tragedy. There will be mayhem and murder, and there will be violence. We are an imperfect sort, and that is just exactly what it's going to be. What has recently been demonstrated, unlike what you would hear from Washington and those would peddle the destruction of the Second Amendment to the Constitution, and that is the individual is responsible for the destruction and the tragedy. The implement has nothing to do with it. Whether it is a bomb made of a pressure cooker, or it is a knife, or is a baseball bat, or a bow and arrow, or a firearm. Eliminating law-abiding citizens' ability to use those things in a legal way will not stop criminals from victimizing people. We all have to be aware of our surroundings. Do not become an easy target. Don't become an easy victim. Don't be ignorant of the fact that there are bad people out there, and they prey on the unsuspecting. So keep your eyes open, be watchful, help your neighbors, look around, because your best defense is you. It's that tingling feeling on the back of your neck. If it tingles, there's a reason, and you need to be aware of that. A little bit of pre-planning can go a long way. But beyond all of that, there's always going to be violence somewhere. And the United States of America, unfortunately, is becoming more and more of a victim of the things that we're used to reading about in the newspapers or watching on television in Lebanon or Tel Aviv or the African continent. So it's really disturbing. Another thing that we wanted to talk about, and briefly we touched on it when we were having dinner, and that is taking pride in where you live. Taking pride in where you live, the city of Taft, being a part of the city, live in the city, be a part of it, like Randy Miller is always talking about. And just a little bit of pride always shows, no matter where you live, in your property. If you wouldn't want your neighbor having their property look a certain way, then you certainly wouldn't want your own looking that way. You needn't live in the biggest house on the block or in the city or up on the hill to take pride in where you live. It could be the oldest, smallest house in the entire community, and it could be neat as a pin, and your pride can show, and it's a good feeling. So pull those weeds, like Randy always tells you. A little bit of scraping, a little bit of paint, a little bit of water and trimming, and you can take pride in where you live, no matter where you live on the west side. It's a wonderful place to live. And in regard to global safety and the atrocities that seem to be occurring around here, if you had to pick anywhere to live, and you could feel good about where you live and the safety of walking out your front door and walking from one end of your city to the other, whether it was dark or light, this would be the place. This is where I'd want to live. This is where we choose to live. So you can take pride in that as well. A lot of that has to do with your neighbors and your community and your police force. So Chief, I'm saying thank you very much to you and the people that work for you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Knorr. I would just concur with statements made regarding Boston. Terrible tragedy, innocence lost again, and we will rebound from it. I also wanted to let the council know that I have been invited to Fresno on the 19th of this month as a member of a panel for a regional economic development forum, which I'm really kind of surprised why they asked me, but because I'm a
Well, Mr. Mayor, you must have had good grades, too.
Well, I didn't get a scholarship, but I'm going. But anyway, I just want to let you guys know that I would be there participating on a forum with 4 other folks from various cities. They were looking for a mayor from a small city, and they found us. And it's actually the gentleman that is doing the Greater Taft Economic Development, Mike Dozier, I believe is his name. I've met with him several times now, and he thought that perhaps it would be, that I might be an asset to that forum, and so I'm going to go up there and do my best. So anyway, I just want to let you guys know that I would be doing that. And
Good for you.
Go represent.
And then the other thing I wanted to comment on was an article that was in the local paper regarding and you'll have to help me out, Lisa Green was at Rotary and had talked about the upsurge of felony complaints, I guess. And I read the article. It was a very well-written article, and Lisa Green's very well-spoken. But I saw it a little differently because people started asking me, why is the crime so high in Taft all of a sudden? But I really believe it's because Taft City Police and Kern County Sheriff's Department are not sitting back on their heels. They're out there pursuing these guys to put them back where they belong. And so kudos to Kern County Sheriff's and to our own Taft Police Department, because I think they're out there still doing the job. They're rounding these people up and getting them back into the system so that perhaps they'll stay out of our neighborhood. So that's the way I took it, and that's the way I'm going to continue to believe in it, because I still think Taft is an extremely safe and comfortable town to live in. So thank you again, Chief, and if you'll tell your folks. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is department reports. Okay. Okay, Lon, I guess she's asked that you go first.
Good evening, Mayor Linder, council members, Lon Boyer. Just wanted to give everybody an update. Our website, as I presented a couple last council meeting and kind of gave you a bare bones look at it, is ready to go live tomorrow. So for those of you that are watching this tomorrow, it'll be live by the time you turn on your Bright House network. Some of the features that we want to point out to people, we hope everybody goes in there, takes a look at the site, gets familiar with it. You can log in with a user ID and your email address. You can obtain notifications from us automatically in any of the chosen areas you want, whether you want to know about jobs, whether you want to have general updates, calendars, whatever it is that's going on in the city. If we update that portion of the site, you subscribe to it, you will get an email. As part of this also, we are joining the social media revolution that seems to be going on, and we have a Facebook as well as Twitter accounts that will link directly to the site. So for the folks out there who may use Twitter and or Facebook instead of, or as an ancillary device to the website, those feeds will also be directly going to those accounts. So encourage people to get in there, take a look around, sign up for what you're interested in, and hopefully you'll find it to be a wealth of information about the city. So
Very good.
that's what I had to report. Is there any questions from the council regarding it?
Look forward to seeing the finished product.
We know you put a lot of time into this, Alon, and thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Hudgens, I believe you.
Thank you, sir.
This is just kind of a in-house, in-service, so to speak, on council proclamations, commendations, certificates of recognition. If council or a member of the public wants to know why or how certificates gets put together, or maybe why it didn't get on a specific agenda. This is a policy that was passed back in 2004. We used to have an admin assistant that would spend days gathering enough information to put a proclamation together. And so council in 2004 decided that to cut down on staff time, that the requesting party needs to provide the information necessary, whether it be just a simple certificate or a longer proclamation. The main things we need to know is who. There may be more than one organization that have the same goals and maybe a similar name. We want to make sure we get the right one the first time. When is, if there's a date involved with whatever we're doing, we need to know when. And in addition to which agenda we need to put it on. What is the name of the event, or what happened to cause the reason behind giving this certificate of recognition, why. So it's basically who, when, what, why, where, and maybe in rare instances, maybe even a how. So if you keep those in mind and guide us in the right direction, we can, happy to put those together and for you to present, and you guys can put your name on them. So, anyway, that was just a brief presentation that I wanted to give, so not only council, but the public would know how we put these together. And
Sounds like another good item to go on the website. It's for the public to know how to request this type of recognition. So thank you, Mrs. Hudgens, I appreciate that. Any other department reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to city manager statements. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Next Wednesday, April 24th, myself and Deborah, the Enterprise Zone Manager, will be heading to Sacramento to meet with Senator Jean Fuller and Assemblywoman Shannon Grove to discuss the proposed changes to the Enterprise Zone. As you guys know, that we've invested a lot of money and a lot of time into our Enterprise Zone, and believe it or not, Governor Brown wants to try to change things. And a lot of the professionals are seeing this kind of the same way they saw redevelopment. There was a few changes. They were just going to make some adjustments, and then ultimately it got taken away. We don't want that to happen. There's been a lot of information sent to us from the League of California Cities, and they're encouraging us to go to Sacramento and talk to our legislators about making sure this doesn't happen. So it'll be next week, Wednesday. During the same day, unfortunately, we will not be able to attend, but Arbor Day in Taft, which will be held at Taft Community Garden at 10 a.m., and that's on 9th Street, and that is April 24th. It'll be followed by a little lunch ceremony here at the Veterans Park after the tree planting. And then on April 20th...
Excuse me, Mr. Jones, you said, what time was that again?
That's 10 a.m.
10 a.m. for Arbor Day?
Arbor Day, April 24th.
Got it.
Community Gardens.
At the Community Garden on 9th Street.
Right.
And then we have Taft Cleanup Day, which is April 27th at 8 a.m. Volunteers will be meeting here at the Veterans Memorial Park, and then we'll head up to Wood Street. We're going to do a 4-hour cleanup along Wood Street. We're going to try to target junk, trash, debris, some lots, if we can gain access to them. We get permission from the property owners, but we're trying to clean up one of the main entry points to the greater Taft area. And I believe the mayor and Councilman Miller will be going door to door to encourage people to get rid of their junk up there on Wood Street. I think we got your guys' flyers today. I don't know.
Oh, did you
Here
hear
in your box.
How about a flak jacket?
Hey, staff offered. You guys,
No,
volunteer.
We will do it.
We appreciate it. Sponsors include the Kern County Supervisor Couch's office, Kern County Waste Management, City of Taft, Westside Waste, Taft College, Vintage Production, Occidental Petroleum, Dryer's Ice Cream and Fastenal, and Albertsons. And at noon, following the event, we will have a lunch here put on by Occidental and Vintage, and they will be handing out, from I understand, some Dryer's Ice Cream for the volunteers. And there'll be some other goodies, maybe some T-shirts and stuff for the folks that come down to help clean up. I know we've got a lot of phone calls today, people wanting to volunteer, so hopefully we'll have a great turnout. Last week we did go to Long Beach to the CalEd conference, and we're working on a formal report to bring back to the council on some of the things that we learned during our different breakout sessions up there, but it was very informative, and it was well worth the travel. Lastly, we have some draft ordinances for the admin fines for code enforcement. I believe those will be on the next council agenda, and that will empower our code enforcement officer for these repeat offenders to not only go through the legal process, but if they fail to comply, we'll be able to start administering fines to them for not complying with what we're asking them to do. And it's That should be coming back next
Kind of like
council meeting.
you get a traffic ticket and it costs you $50. You get the same traffic again, next time it's going to cost you $100. So, da-da-da-da.
100, 250, then 500.
Yeah, so,
And that can be daily as long as the code violation still exists.
right, so,
And we're also working on some downtown-specific codes for the downtown commercial area to do with abandoned buildings, where you won't be able to keep an abandoned building just because you want to use it for storage, or you need to do something with it. You can't just let it be an eyesore and be an out-of-town owner of those buildings that don't care about the other people that own and buildings and are trying to do business down there. It does a real disservice to those folks that are trying to own businesses down there. So we're hoping that we can look at some of our other communities and see what they're doing to alleviate some of these problems and introduce that to the council for adoption, either ordinances or codes. And that's all I have.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item is city attorney statements.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I can, I do need to make an announcement to you and the city council officially tonight that this will be my last meeting as your city attorney. It doesn't mean I won't be here occasionally, but I will not be able to fulfill this role any longer. I'd like to introduce my partner from the Madera office, Tom Ebersol. Tom has been in Coca-Cola for many years and is a 9-year city attorney for the city of Gustine, 3-year city attorney for the city of Chowchilla. I believe he's transitioning Gustine off to another attorney in our firm so he can assume the city attorney duties here with the council's permission. And Tom, you want to say a few words?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I've had the opportunity of working with the Planning Commission for a couple of years now, actually. Have enjoyed Taft, was at the last Chamber of Commerce dinner. Really enjoy it down here, and when Dave Prentice indicated that he was going to have to transition and asked me if I would be available, I said this would be a wonderful opportunity. I think this is a great community here, and I look forward to keeping the city and the city staff happy and providing the same service that David provided while he was here. Thank you.
And I'll fill the council in on what happened and why this is necessary. But it just two things happened all at the same time, and it happened very quickly. So, but it's all good stuff, but except for this. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you, David. I'm going to take a few extra minutes here because since we got Coca-Cola involved with our city, and you specifically, I'm going to give you all the credit, we have moved leaps and bounds. We've moved in such a positive direction. Your tutelage to us and to our city staff has just been, we've gotten every dollar's worth of money we've paid. You guys have been great. Coca-Cola is a great firm. We've built a relationship, and I like to say it's more than a relationship. I've enjoyed your friendship too, and we will miss you. We still got your number though.
You made me a promise that if we call, he'll answer.
And I'm sure that Tom, I don't want to take anything away from you. I know you will get up to his speed very quickly, but we went through some very difficult times, and David specifically, but Coca-Cola got us through those times, and we're digging ourselves out, and we're doing really good. Contrary to what the economy is saying and stuff, Taft is doing very well, and that's in part to your help for us. And so we'll miss you, and we're going to put Tom to work and expect great things from him too. So I wanted to say that, and if any other council member would like to say anything, please do at this time.
you did it just fine, Mr. Mayor.
All right, and we'll talk a little later, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, I just did want to say for the public that I have told the police chief and the city manager that anything that happens with the CCF over here,
Yes.
it's my baby.
Okay.
I'm back here. So
Good. Good. Well, let's hope that we see you soon.
Hopefully, we got some things on the horizon.
Very soon, yes. Thank you, David. And thank you, Tom, for being here tonight. The next item on the agenda is future agenda requests. Gentlemen, do any of you have any requests for items for future agendas?
None for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor.
The only one I have, and I've already asked the city clerk to look into it, is also a city commendation, however, we're going to, certificate of recognition, I think is what we're going to move towards for Westside Waste Management. They've been a partner in the city for many, many years, and they provide a crucial service that we all enjoy. I believe I enjoy because I don't have to deal with my garbage. And 30 years in business is a landmark, and we need to make sure that they're recognized. So we're working on that too. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar, items 8 through 16. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Item 8 is the minutes of the April 2nd regular meeting. 9, payment of bills. 10, approval of a key control MOU with the Taft City School District. 11, city building official. 12, contract amendment, Westside Waste Management. This is an increase in their contract by, I believe it was about $550 per month. Is that correct?
It was very small.
Very small, less than about 2% increase. Who hasn't suffered a little bit of inflation during these times? Item number 13 is approval to submit applications for grants under the following Federal Transit Administration funded grant programs and approval of resolutions authorizing the mayor or the city manager to sign the grant documents on behalf of the city. Setting a public hearing for landscape maintenance district number 2013-1, that's item number 14. Item number 15 is engineer report for landscape maintenance district number 2013-1. And 16, purchase of a new server for the Munis and additional software. Gentlemen, do you wish any of these items to be removed? I would request that item number 14 be removed. Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 8 through 13 and 15 and 16.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember North?
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop?
Yes.
Mayor Linder?
Yes, thank you. And we will move back to item number 14, and that is setting a public hearing for landscape maintenance district number 2013-1. Mr. Jones, I usually let you know that I'm going to pull something, but you're already on the page, so would you read the summary, please?
The City Council adopted resolution number 3522-13 for the proposed landscape maintenance district number 2013-1. City will provide formal notice to owners of properties within the proposed assessment district of the details and conduct a notice, hearing, and protest ballot procedures required by the 1972 Act and Article 17 of the California Constitution. City Council hereby sets a public hearing for 6 p.m. on June 4th, 2013 in the City Hall Council Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'd entertain a motion to approve a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft, California, declaring its intention to order the formation of proposed City of Taft Landscape Maintenance District Number 2013-1 pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972 in accordance with the Article 13D of the California Constitution and setting a public hearing thereon."
Mr. Mayor, before you get a motion and a second on that, you should probably disclose your relationship to the district.
Thank you. I was going to do that. My property, my personal residence is within the landscape and lighting district that we're talking about tonight. I've sought legal counsel, and because I will not receive any and then we'll move on. So having said that, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a motion and a second, and it's open for discussion. Mr. Knorr, I don't know if you have any discussion on it. I just wanted,
No, sir, not really, Mr. Mayor. I do know that each time this comes up before the council, for the 9 years that I have been involved, it always seems to be a surprise that there has never been an increase.
Right.
I don't know how long you've been, well, you've been doing it 4 years longer than me. So. But anyway, I shouldn't think this should come as a great surprise to anybody. Everything has gone up a little bit, and I believe that people have been getting a lot of bang for their buck for quite some time. So that's why I made the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. Mr. Miller.
I too, so be interested what you have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Waldrop, any comment?
No comment.
Mr. Cryer.
No comment.
Well, basically, I was most interested in getting this discussion going because I think, I'll be honest with you, what we're leading down the path here is there's going to be an increase to these fees. We've had a very intense research of exactly what it's been costing us to maintain these landscape and lighting districts throughout the city, and we've been grossly underestimating those costs. Currently, I believe we collect about $8,900 per year, and the first estimate from an engineer was we should be charging around $24,000 to maintain these. So I mostly wanted to get this out into the public and on camera because you're all going to be receiving a mailer that says that these increases are going to, these proposed increases are coming your way. And as citizens, you have the right to protest or accept the fees. And so my concern is that we didn't want to pass something on a consent calendar and have somebody come back and say, oh, you just slid that in underneath us. So, just to let you know, anybody who lives within these districts is going to receive an envelope talking about the proposed increases and why they need to happen. Use your public voice and support it because I think they're extremely important. I can stand on my pulpit for a minute. They're important to the city, the aesthetics of the city, and they add character to our city. So, and you have, as Mr. Miller said and Mr. Knorr iterated, been getting a heck of a deal for the last 14 or 15 years that I know of. So anyway, that's my soapbox and I'll get off of it. And so, and if there's any other comments, I'll ask for a roll call.
Well, Mr. Mayor, several things. One, we hired a firm to look at all our fees and all our structure in the city of Taft, and this came up, and this is, as Mr. Knorr indicated, I have not understood why we have not increased these fees over the years because we haven't. For the 11 years I've been on the council, or 12, or however long it's been, we should have, because costs go up. And what we've really realized is that we have not recovered our costs, our actual costs, and this firm showed us exactly where we've been missing. But it was easy to do because we had inmate labor to supplement our staff to take care of these landscape and lighting districts. And we now have several new landscape and lighting districts that we're also taking care of that we don't have additional staff for. And so it's not like we're just trying to get back to even, just to recover our costs. We're not trying to make a profit on this deal, but we need to cover our costs, and that's I believe where we're at and where we're heading. And we certainly want the public's input on this and to see and we'll come up and show what our options will be and go from there. So it's important that when you get your notice to, talk to one of us or Craig or any of the staff here, but let us know what your feelings are and we'll try to explain. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. May we have a roll call?
Councilmember Knorr.
Yes.
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop.
Yes.
Mayor Linder.
Yes, thank you. Item number 17 is the retention of meeting videos, DVDs, and minute preparation. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. City of Taft has been videotaping their council meetings since it first contracted with Don Gillespie in 2002. Mr. Gillespie started using digital equipment in 2009 and started providing the recorded meetings on DVD. The city currently has all the DVDs since July 2009 and has been converting previous VCRs to DVD. California Government Code 34090-.7 says the video recording medium should not be destroyed for a period of 90 days. In 1997, the city of Taft adopted a retention schedule based on that provided by the state. City Clerk's Handbook recommends that meeting audio tapes and/or videos, DVDs, be retained for 5 years, although each city can set their own guidelines. Staff recommends that council set a longer retention schedule for meeting audio and video periods, along with new method for preparing meeting minutes. Current minutes are prepared in what is called synopsis format, which provides a limited summary of council staff public comments. Preparing the minutes can be time-consuming, as a meeting recording must be listened to carefully so the summarized comments do not contain inaccurate information. Staff recommends that council set a longer retention period of the meeting DVDs and the action minutes be prepared, cutting down on minute preparation time. With a longer retention period, anyone wanting to know what an individual said would watch the DVD. The action minutes would record only basic information and record the action taken at each item will continue to meet legal requirements for the permanent record. Along with the retention of the DVDs, the city's new website allows for meeting videos to be viewed on an on-demand basis. The website has a capability of holding all meeting videos as a library or could be limited to the most recent meetings.
Wow. All right. The action, it's a discussion item, gentlemen. I can see where this should go and is probably going to go, so, Mr. Knorr?
I'd be happy to jump in there. I mean, here we go. This is the technology age. Anything, anytime, anywhere you want it. You know, if there isn't a fourth grader with an iPhone next to you, it would surprise me. Just this past weekend, as we were driving to a race, there were several things that came up, items of information that we needed, and my kids are wonderfully astute at digging up the most interesting bits of information about anything you want on an iPhone. I mean, anything can be had. Just as a side note, if you've never Googled your own address on Google Maps, do it for fun, because it will show you an aerial view, and then it will get down to a street level view, and I could actually view my own house, and I don't know when they did it, but they went all the way around the thing, including the alleyway, and looked over the fence into the swimming pool. And so if any of y'all want to see what my swimming pool and my spa look like, one need only Google my address. But it's all out there. And to take advantage of it only makes sense in this day and age when we have to control costs, and staff time is cost. We ask more and more and more of our staff every day, and they willingly take on more. But they cannot add minutes to the hour, nor can they add hours to a day. So by utilizing technology to make their time more productive, it only makes sense. And to be able to view any council meeting on demand from the website, instead of having to come down here and pay for a DVD and staff having to reproduce a DVD, here again, it makes it easier for the citizens. After all, this is their government. This is your government. We are simply here to serve you, and we are pleased to be able to do that. So these suggestions make all the sense in the world to me. Mr. Mayor, the holding on to the DVDs for longer periods up to 5 years, that makes sense to me. And the wonderful thing about DVDs is you can store a great deal of information on a very small package.
If I may share?
Sure.
This is 4 years' worth of DVDs. Takes up 2 inches on the
That's not
shelf in
bad.
the vault.
Not bad at all.
Could go
Would you show
5
the
years.
camera?
This is 4 years' worth of DVDs.
And I'm sorry, how many years?
4
4 years?
That's a
of DVD?
weekend of scrapbooking for my wife. I'm telling you that right now.
That's
But the
great.
point
You're
is,
laughing because you know it's true.
It only takes up 2 inches on a shelf in the vault. You can go 5 years, you can go 10 years, you can go indefinite. You know, it's your choice, but we have to have it
Now
in a retention
compare
schedule.
that to VCR tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Well, even worse, paper.
yeah, and paper.
But it takes up a very small amount of space in the vault. keep them as long, but we do have to have that in writing in our retention schedule.
Lana, are we going to be capable to go back 10 years and people be able to view the DVDs, or do we have to download them all into the system, or how is that going to be handled?
That is correct. If we want to leave them on DVD, like we have them now, and people can access them by request, we can do that pretty easily. If we want to use our website truly as a historical archive, that will take downloading all those DVDs to the website, which is certainly doable, but it would take a little bit of time of archiving.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to do
I believe
it.
we plan on having a small archive on the website.
Yeah.
And if you need to go back further, you'd have to come down and request it.
So are we going to, what's staff recommendation for the archive on the website?
This morning, I threw out 120 days. That'd be,
Like,
what's that?
3 months?
4 months. 4 months.
4 months?
8 meetings, 9 meetings. Yeah.
Well, the information center forever, could we like go back 3 months back and then go forward and keep it on the
Yeah, you
database?
just, the last one would drop off, the 8th meeting would drop off, and the new one would go on there.
Well, I think what Mr. Cryers is saying is that since you have 3 or 4 months on there, we just start adding to it, eventually there would be 10 years on there.
Yeah,
If we don't
I just
drop
don't
one off.
know, is there, I don't know if there's.
Is there a space
I don't know if there's
limitation? No.
because that takes up space, so I don't
Yeah.
know. If it's unlimited, then there's not a problem to do that.
Maybe more transparency between people that look at the history.
Mr. Walden?
Sounds good.
Yeah. I would concur. I think I like Mr. Cryer's idea because since you're having to load it on anyway, it's there. If it's not a space consideration, that's fine. I would not suggest we go back any further than our DVDs do if we did anything on the website, because then you have to move them from VHS to DVD and then load them on. So I'd stay within the confines of our DVD.
We
history.
also plan on having a meeting and discussing our local channel with
Bright House.
Bright House to make sure that they're upholding their end of the bargain with our franchise agreement and our local channel, because we do get complaints about our local channel, and Lon's going to look into that when he gets through with this website project.
Yeah, I haven't been able to access our local channel for about a month now.
Well, they have a commitment to the community to provide that.
It's part of their franchise, isn't it?
Yeah.
You talking about for the TAF meetings?
Channel 11?
Channel 11
I was
part of
watching it last night.
Okay.
Something wrong with my TV then. So what we're looking for is whether we want to throw them away after 5 years or keep them forever or 10 years, or and you just want something that we can put in our retention procedures? Is that the idea of what you're
Right.
bringing up? And then we also want to add in on how long we want to keep it on the
Right,
website?
it's kind of a threefold question.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you could probably charge for those ones 3
Well,
or 4 years.
Since space is not a consideration as the cassettes were, I would vote in favor of keeping them forever. I would also go along with staff recommendation for the website to go back 4 months, and then they'll just drop off. Anybody wants to access that, they can come down, they get a copy of a DVD. Of course, that's not going to be, we're not going to give out free DVDs, so what do we have a charge for that, or
there's a charge,
is it, what,
$26.25 per DVD.
so it'll cost $25 per DVD to get a copy of the meeting? And
Or
then
they
what's the third item?
Well, it's the method of minutes.
The method of minute
What,
preparation.
your
going-
minutes preparation now are those action minutes is what you're doing?
What we do now is considered, as they call it, synopsis or summarized minutes, which is listening, summarizing what you say.
Right.
I might take 5 minutes